Randy, man. I'll jump over to you first. I think we're going to talk about a little bit of Zoom earnings calls coming up and what
No,
the
sir, they were today. You are terrible
oh
at this
no,
semi-hosting gig.
Yeah,
Fired.
Zoom
man.
dropped their earnings today after hours. And as of right now, they were up like 23%. Absolutely
Because why
crushed.
not? Because why not?
Because why
Because
not?
nothing matters.
If you put $1 million in Zoom, which I'm sure there's people out there, they made $250,000 overnight. I mean, why not? It's 2020. Let's have some fun. But
So
anyways,
I just want to say that my company was using Zoom before it was the go-to video platform for COVID-19, officially sponsored by the pandemic. Uh, I never saw this coming, flat out. Like in terms of just a 6 month global adoption of a software, it's incredible, and props to them. But anyway, continue, Ryan. Sorry.
yeah. So even at the firm that I work for, we also adopted it very early. And I remember sitting in a meeting when they were dropping. I was like, "What is Zoom? Like, what is this?" And there are these people logging in from I don't know where, like trying to teach us how to use it. It was like this foreign uh, object to us, and then now look at us. We're all using it every single day. So there's a reason why
We're
the
using
stock.
it to make this right
We're
now.
using it to try and have people listen to us and watch us. I
Got the
mean,
bag, Zoom.
it's been a crazy year for Zoom. They IPO'd at $38 a share. I can say that I owned it at 60 at one point, and now it is 400 a share.
Cool.
So this is another one of those ones where you probably should have just held it, Ryan. What the
We
fuck was
are
your
we
problem?
we are bad at this. We just need to realize this. Yeah. I
Well, I mean,
think the
everything
most
we mentioned
interesting.
turns to gold, so we should probably take our own advice.
It'll probably go to 600 now. I mean,
add Zoom to my list of just forgotten stocks that I've sold, of up there with Amazon, Facebook, Nvidia, Apple, Tesla, Shopify. I'm bad at this, and I'm doing okay this year, and I'm bad at this.
Yeti.
Uh, Shut up,
I
Ryan.
don't care about Yeti.
Also,
16 to
cut this clip of
52.
my instant reaction to not knowing that you had all of those at one point. Wow.
Yeah, this is why nobody has asked me to manage their money.
There we go. Not yet. That's why we're doing this, right?
Mm.
So we can learn on the job.
But anyways, I mean, Zoom obviously has a huge market share now of video conferencing. I mean, that's going to continue to stay the way it is because it's a trusted outlet at this point. I mean, there's other competitors in the space like Microsoft, Cisco, WebEx. I mean, there's probably still room for maybe some competition, but I mean, Zoom's going to blow everybody out of the water. I mean, we've looked for other outlets to use for this podcast, and Zoom is just the easiest, the best. There's nobody out there like it. So
Well,
until
so
someone can
that
become
brings us to
Zoom,
the
get
like
out of the way.
overall question. Well, that brings us to the overall question I wanted to get to today of at what point do we reach video conferencing saturation? Like at some point you run out of firms that are all working from home because we've been doing it. The ones that of us that are lucky enough, thankfully us three are, that have been able to work remotely for the most part. And you eventually run out of companies that are needing a video conferencing software. Like, at what point do we reach that point? And I know it sounds redundant, but 6-7 months in, is there that much growth still in the future? And I say this, and Zoom still didn't even make $1 billion in revenue this quarter.
I don't know if you reach saturation, honestly. I think the biggest players rise to the top and the other ones kind of fall to the wayside. Big players like Microsoft, Google will stay in the mix, Cisco, but I think the big ones are going to stick around, and the small ones, if they keep making them, aren't going to be successful. I think we're reaching to the point where like it's not quite the same with like back in the day with Google and Bing and Ask Jeeves and all that stuff, where only one rises to the top.
Hey, RIP and peace to Ask Jeeves, man, that butler.
Hey, I know. He was great, but Zoom's got the name, just kind of like Google does.
It
I
became a
don't.
verb. It became a
Yeah,
verb, just like Xerox, like Google, like
I
posted
know at
something.
our firm we use Teams, and I still hear a couple of the boomers say, Zoom in or all that stuff. I'm like, it's like using Kleenex. It's brand name. It's
Team in, bro.
Yeah, it doesn't have quite the same ring to it. I like Teams. I think it's great, but yeah, Zoom just sounds cleaner, and they were the most successful, I think, in the market. So, like I said, I don't think saturation happens. I think the good ones rise to the top, and you
And then
keep four to five.
as far as growth goes, I mean, there's still companies that are being created, and as far as new businesses, they're gonna need Zoom once they start their business. So I think there's always potential there for them to grab more of a market shares. I mean, eventually everyone's going to have some type of video conferencing. I don't know what percentage of companies do right now. I'm sure it's probably 80%, but that 20% that doesn't have it or something, hypothetically, there's still more potential for them to make money. But
I don't know who
Yeah,
doesn't
like
have it.
yeah,
so like obviously
small businesses.
it's the physical businesses that have to remain physical. A restaurant's never going to have Zoom, for instance. They might in terms of for
Like
the
a quick meeting.
occasional
Yeah.
staff meeting, but in terms of actual operations and execution, no, it's going to be more knowledge and tech companies, um, as well as just other office staff that don't revolve around the physical presence of a job. Um, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I think it's interesting how Zoom's easy to use features. It's weird how it's like the catch 22 of um, so easy to use that's what led to its massive expansion over such a short period of time, and then of course inversely gets it in trouble with security flaws because it was so easy to use, and now they've taken steps to correct those and do fairness, and then now here we are, and it's like we said, become a verb, and everybody is very familiar with the software. And then they go and they crush earnings and they rise up nearly 100 points in 2 hours.
Yeah, I think one of the takeaways for young investors here is, maybe we missed the boat on this explosion of Zoom, but just keep your eyes and ears out there for other opportunities like this. If there's ever some kind of a shift in how people do business, I mean, with COVID, everybody had to go remote and use something like Zoom. Maybe the next thing would be something different. And just think about at the beginning of that shift in momentum, whatever it could be, maybe hold on to a stock like Zoom and let it ride through that entire pandemic or just overall shift in culture. Just think of maybe ideas and potential for long-term change in business strategies or tools that businesses use. So just keep your eyes and
Yeah.
ears out there.
Well, like a good example of that is so Zoom has now reached such a large base that growth becomes harder and harder with each passing day, especially as you go international. But so that's why you've seen them pivot to also offering a hardware setup. Zoom's getting into the hardware business of a true work from home setup, of a camera, mic, everything and that you would need for a true I am a working professional, I am working from home, and I am on Zoom setup. And Zoom is going to also be under a lot more pressure I'm talking 2 to 5 years to monetize all of those users. They're going to have to look for ways to make more money on them, whether that be charging more people for the actual service or going out into other ancillary businesses like hardware or anything else that they decide to go down the path of to starting to capitalize on their such a large user base going forward. And so I'm curious to see what that is. But yeah, at some point it's going to be less of a growth story, and Wall Street's going to come knocking in terms of, hey, where are the Benjamins?
Right. I wonder if they go like they're kind of already doing a little bit, but go to like the freemium style where they offer a base level to everybody, and then
Well, I think
for the
that's what
really
they are.
advanced, they're already doing it, but I'm saying
Yeah.
capitalizing on it more so of like expanding their infrastructure with it for businesses that are gonna need and get the premium experience of hardware too. I mean, I don't know if there's might be packages and stuff they come along with, but I'm sure they're gonna stay cutting edge if they're gonna maintain their big name. They'll figure it out.
We will see, won't we?
Yeah. All right.
One last
So
thing I
everyone-
want to say. I mean,
Yeah,
I
go for
guess
it.
we could
Closing
wrap it
thoughts.
up.
How dare you?
Just
Number one, how dare you? Insert Mindy Kaling office gif.
So I was thinking along the lines of like how this affects young investors. I know I kind of touched on that, like a mindset for thinking about what the next Zoom could be, but also thinking about, you know, now that we're kind of have been through this COVID thing for 6 months, the next phase in stocks exploding, I think, are going to be the reopening trends, like maybe movie theaters or hotels, anything like that. Wait for when the news starts to pick up and then potentially look in those areas, because at that point Zoom would go probably down because people are going to go back into the office and not use it as much. And then things like hotel stocks, airlines, things of that nature could potentially rise back to where they were. So just
Right.
keep looking out there.
And on top of
Counterpoint.
go for it.
We've already seen a lot of companies though announce, especially tech companies, that are most likely to be using the service. Obviously, Google is one of them. Facebook's another. I think Twitter might be another. My company hasn't announced any specific date yet of when we'll all start going back to offices, but I think we're in this for a longer haul than just 7 months. We're in this probably for an 18-month haul of offices that are able to work remotely are going to keep working remotely. Likely until we have a vaccine, until there's huge herd immunity. So I don't think I don't think you can expect an immediate transfer of cash out of Zoom into selling that in a drop from a stock standpoint. So if you're a younger investor, you know, this is a tricky one. You know, they've had two quarters of just blowing out expectations. That it's one of those things, if it's too good to be true, it probably is. And that's not a knock against Zoom. That just is, at some point they will get expectations that likely are too big for their britches, for lack of a better expression. And that may cause a drop and may cause money to transfer out to the stocks, like Ryan was just suggesting. So we will see. Justin, what were you saying on that?
Yeah, kind of closing thoughts on that too. Kind of going back to what Ryan was saying is, you know, when things do start to reopen, I kind of agree with you, but at the same time, I'm in the mindset of like companies adapt or they die, and maybe not die completely, but flourish. Maybe should be the right word. I think if they're not able to adapt to this shifting culture that we're going towards, then they're not going to be as successful and return back to where they were before. So, kind of what Ryan is saying is, you know, keep an eye out for the changes and the shifts, and understand and be confident in like what you believe in, how you think they're going to be successful, and that can reflect potentially into their, you know, their market value.
Yeah, and a lot of everybody who already has Zoom, especially big company wise, that's already been priced in. Just know that.
Yes.
You know, stock prices are about 4 to 6 weeks out in the future, and every big company that's already, including mine, that's already has them under contract and has had them under contract, that's been priced in of the revenue from those companies. So it's all going to be about turning more to like a Facebook ad model of starting to get more money from small to medium-sized businesses. So we will see how that goes in the future.